I was sitting on the high-speed train heading home, with the sound of a woman's soft moans coming through my headphones. It was a recording I had made with Emily 6 months ago before I left home, and it was my only way to alleviate the loneliness while working away. Being separated by distance was a torment for both Emily and me. When I got home, Emily wasn't there.
Emily, where are you?
I'm still at work, John. I have to work late. Why don't you grab something to eat outside?
Emily finally came home at 10 p.m., and when I opened the door, I could clearly smell alcohol on her.
Didn't you say you were working late? Why did you drink?
It was because we worked late, so I had a late-night snack with my colleagues.
I didn't think much of it and held Emily, wanting to get intimate. When I was away, I might have been able to control myself, but seeing the mature and charming Emily at home, I had no resistance.
It's not a good time.
I felt a pang in my heart, not just because it wasn't a good time for intimacy, but because Emily's attitude towards me felt unfamiliar. In the past, when I came back from out of town, there were times when it wasn't convenient for Emily, but she would always find a way. But just now, I saw a hint of aversion on her face. Emily didn't say much more and went straight to the bathroom to take a shower before going to bed. I stood there for a long time, thinking that maybe she was just too tired from work and that after a shower and some rest, there might still be a chance. I quickly took a shower and eagerly got into bed to hold Emily. At first, Emily didn't resist, but then she suddenly pushed my hands away.
What are you doing? I told you it's not a good time.
Can't we just cuddle? I didn't want to give up. I've been holding back for too long while away.
All you think about is this. I'm tired and need to sleep.
Emily turned away from me. I felt like I had fallen into an ice pit, feeling that the woman lying next to me was a stranger. Was this still the Emily I always thought about? For some reason, thoughts of things happening at the factory came to mind. Some couples who lived apart would find someone to spend time with in their respective places, and this was almost an open secret. Could it be that during the days I wasn't home, Emily?
No, I can't doubt Emily like this. Maybe she's just tired from work and her mood was affected by it, which is why she was a bit cold to me.
I forced myself to find a reason to convince myself. I lay down and tried to calm myself, constantly reassuring myself that once Emily felt better, she would show her tenderness. Even with this self-reassurance, I still couldn't sleep that night and only dozed off in the early hours of the morning. In the morning, I was awakened by some noise. I squinted and saw that Emily was changing clothes, getting ready for work. Even though she had given birth, Emily's stomach was flat, and I could faintly see her abs. Seeing her exposed body in front of me, I got up and pinned her down. David was sitting on the high-speed train heading home, listening to a recording of Emily's soft voice through his headphones. It was his way of coping with the loneliness while working away from home. When David finally arrived home, Emily wasn't there.
Calling, Emily, where are you? I'm back.
I'm sorry, David. I have to work late tonight. Why don't you grab something to eat outside?
Emily came home at 10 p.m., smelling of alcohol.
Didn't you say you were working late? Why did you drink?
We worked late, so I had a late-night snack with my colleagues.
David didn't think much of it and held Emily, wanting to be close after so long apart.
I've missed you. Can we have some time together?
It's not a good time, David.
David felt a pang in his heart. Emily's attitude felt unfamiliar.
Can we just cuddle? I've been away for so long.
All you think about is this. I'm tired and need to sleep.
David lay there feeling like the woman next to him was a stranger. He tried to reassure himself that Emily was just tired from work. The next morning, David was awakened by some noise. He saw Emily changing clothes.
Honey, why don't you take the day off and spend it with me?
If I don't work, will you support me? With your salary, what can you do?
What do you mean by that?
I didn't mean anything. I have to go to work. If you have time, go home and see Tom.
David sat on the bed, unable to calm down. He thought about all the years he spent working away from home, all the sacrifices he made for the family. His phone rang. It was Margaret calling.
David, I heard you're on vacation. Why don't we take Tom to the city for a few days?
David's mood lifted. In the following days, Emily continued to leave early and come home late, remaining cold towards him. One night, Emily came home late again, smelling of alcohol.
Is it convenient tonight?
Can you focus on something else? All you think about is this.
Isn't tomorrow your day off? I just want to be close to you.
I had a bit to drink at a colleague's gathering tonight. Let's talk about it another day.
What do you mean? I've been back for so many days, and you won't even let me touch you?
Tom and my mom are in the next room. Why are you shouting?
David went downstairs alone and bought 8 bottles of beer from a store. He drank until he was drunk and fell asleep on a bench in the community. The next day, Margaret and Tom woke him up.
David, why were you drinking downstairs? Did you and Emily have a fight?
No, it's nothing.
David decided to find an opportunity to check out Emily's workplace. I was sitting on the high-speed train heading home, listening to a recording of Emily's soft voice through my headphones. It was my only comfort during the long months away. Being separated by distance was a torment for both Emily and me. When I got home, Emily wasn't there.
Calls Emily, hey, where are you?
Serious, I'm working late. Just grab something to eat outside.
Emily finally came home at 10 p.m., smelling of alcohol.
Concerned, didn't you say you were working late? Why did you drink?
Evasive, we worked late, so I had a late-night snack with my colleagues.
I didn't think much of it and held Emily, wanting to get close. But she pushed me away.
Serious, it's not a good time.
I felt a pang in my heart. Emily's attitude towards me felt unfamiliar.
Hopeful, can't we just cuddle? I've missed you so much.
Unfriendly, all you think about is this. I'm tired and need to sleep.
I felt like I had fallen into an ice pit, feeling that the woman lying next to me was a stranger. I tried to calm myself, reassuring myself that once Emily felt better, she would show her tenderness. The high-speed train hummed as it sped along, and David sat quietly, listening to an old recording of Emily's voice through his headphones. It was his only solace during the months spent away from home.
Emily, I miss you.
The distance between them was a constant ache. When David finally arrived home, Emily was nowhere to be found. He dialed her number, feeling a pang of disappointment when she answered.
Hey, David. I'm working late tonight. Just grab something to eat outside, okay?
She finally came home at 10 p.m., and the smell of alcohol lingered in the air.
Didn't you say you were working late? Why did you drink?
We worked late, and then had a late-night snack with some colleagues.
David shrugged it off and reached out to hold Emily, longing for intimacy.
I've missed you so much. Let's spend some time together.
It's not a good time.
Her rejection stung, and David felt a growing distance between them. In the past, Emily always found a way to be with him, but now, she seemed almost repulsed.
Emily, what's wrong? Why are you acting like this?
Emily didn't respond and headed to the bathroom to shower. David stood there, hoping things would improve after she rested. He quickly showered and got into bed, trying to cuddle.
What are you doing? I told you it's not a good time.
Can't we just cuddle? I've missed you so much.
All you think about is this. I'm tired and need to sleep.
David felt like a stranger was lying next to him. He tried to rationalize, thinking work stress was affecting her mood. Despite his efforts to calm himself, he couldn't sleep that night, only dozing off in the early hours. The next morning, he woke to the sound of Emily getting dressed for work. He admired her figure and felt a surge of desire.
Emily, wait.
He got up and pinned her down, but Emily pushed him away.
What are you doing? I have to go to work.
David felt a heavy weight in his chest. Later, he rented a bike and headed home again, hoping to find some peace. As he walked in, he saw Emily helping their son with his homework. The warm scene melted his heart.
We've come a long way, Emily. Our life is getting better and better.
That evening, Emily was in the shower. David quietly opened the bathroom door, watching her perfect figure.
It's been a long time since we showered together. Let's do it today.
Emily pushed his hands away.
I'm done. You shower by yourself.
David felt down again. Later, he saw Emily with a pillow, leaving their bedroom.
What are you doing?
Your snoring affects my sleep. I'm going to sleep with our son.
David was stunned. He had snored since they met, and she had never used it as an excuse to sleep separately. His heart felt cold, and he couldn't sleep again that night. The next day, David made Emily's favorite soup and sent her a message.
I made soup tonight. Remember to come home and have some.
Hours passed, and Emily still hadn't come home. David called her multiple times, but there was no answer. Even Margaret, his sister, couldn't reach her.
Maybe Emily is working late. Let's eat first.
At midnight, Emily still hadn't come home. David started to worry, fearing something might have happened.
I need to go out and look for her.
Just then, Margaret's phone rang. It was Emily.
Emily, where are you? You need to come home.
Emily explained that she had too much to drink at a friend's place and wouldn't be coming home. Margaret scolded her, mentioning the friend was a male best friend from school. I had met her brother before. His name was Michael. He was quite dashing and had dated many girlfriends. I heard he recently married an older, wealthy woman. Michael would occasionally ask Emily out for a meal, and I never interfered. I understood that even between spouses, there should be some space. But now, I couldn't accept Emily's behavior. Getting drunk and spending the night at another man's place was absolutely unacceptable.
Emily, send me your brother's address. I'm coming to pick you up.
What's there to pick up? I'll be back tomorrow morning. With that, Emily hung up the phone.
My anger flared up instantly. But considering Margaret was still there, I held back and went back to my room alone. Sitting on the bed, I felt terrible. Thinking about Emily's coldness towards me since I came home, my mind was filled with all sorts of troubling thoughts. I ran downstairs to the store, bought a pack of cigarettes, and sat in the community, smoking one after another. I rarely smoked, barely a few packs a year, but now, even after finishing a pack, my anger hadn't subsided at all. I went back to the store and bought 3 more packs, sitting on the bench and smoking until dawn. In the morning, Helen, the cleaning lady, saw the pile of cigarette butts at my feet and couldn't help but mutter a few words.
No sense of public decency. Can't you throw the cigarette butts in the trash?
Normally, I would never lose my temper with an elderly cleaning lady, but my mood was terrible.
Stop nagging. Isn't this what you're paid to do?
As soon as I said it, I regretted it. No matter how bad my mood was, I shouldn't have treated an elderly person like that. But the words were already out, and there was no taking them back. I had to stand up and leave. Maybe I had been sitting for too long because when I stood up, I felt dizzy and almost fell.
David?
At that moment, I heard a man's voice. I turned around and saw Michael and my wife, Emily. Michael always called Emily sister and referred to me as brother-in-law. He glanced at the cigarette butts at my feet, looking a bit awkward.
Yesterday, my wife went to the hospital for a checkup and found out she's having twins, so I invited my sister over for a meal. I didn't expect her to drink too much and stay at my place. Sorry, brother-in-law, I didn't know you couldn't sleep without her.
Michael was clearly trying to ease the awkward atmosphere. If Emily hadn't been so cold to me lately, I might have laughed it off. But now, I was full of anger.
Michael, let me ask you a question. If your wife spent the night at another man's house, how would you feel?
Michael's smile froze immediately, and he quickly explained.
Brother-in-law, listen to me. My wife was at home last night, and I and my sister.
Enough. David, what do you mean? Just because we're married, I can't have a personal life?
Personal life? Emily, remember you're a married woman. Your husband and child are at home, and you spent the night at another man's place. What do you take me for? And this is when I'm home. Who knows what you do when I'm not around?
I had been holding back for too many days, and at this moment, it was like the underground magma had found a vent.
If that's how you feel, then let's not be together anymore.
I was sitting on the high-speed train heading home, listening to a recording I had made with Emily 6 months ago. It was my only way to alleviate the loneliness while working away. When I got home, Emily wasn't there. I called her.
Emily, where are you? I'm home.
I'm still at work, David. Grab something to eat outside. I'll be late.
Emily finally came home at 10 p.m., smelling of alcohol.
Didn't you say you were working late? Why did you drink?
We worked late, so I had a late-night snack with my colleagues.
I didn't think much of it and held Emily, wanting to get intimate.
Let's spend some time together.
It's not a good time, David.
I felt a pang in my heart, not just because it wasn't a good time, but because Emily's attitude felt unfamiliar. Emily went straight to the bathroom. I stood there, thinking she might be too tired from work. After a shower and some rest, there might be a chance. After my shower, I eagerly got into bed to hold Emily.
Can't we just cuddle?
All you think about is this. I'm tired and need to sleep.
I felt like I had fallen into an ice pit, the woman beside me a stranger. Could it be that during the days I wasn't home, Emily?
No, I can't doubt Emily like this. Maybe she's just tired from work.
Even with this self-reassurance, I still couldn't sleep that night. I only dozed off in the early hours. Morning came, and I was awakened by some noise. Emily was changing clothes, getting ready for work.
Emily, let's talk!
There's nothing to talk about, David. I need to go to work.
I was sitting on the high-speed train heading home, listening to a recording of Emily's voice through my headphones. It was a way to alleviate the loneliness I felt while working away from home.
Emily, why aren't you here?
I called her, and she said she had to work late and told me to grab something to eat outside. Emily finally came home at 10 p.m., and I could clearly smell alcohol on her.
Didn't you say you were working late? Why did you drink?
It was because we worked late, so I had a late-night snack with my colleagues.
I didn't think much of it and held Emily, wanting to get intimate. But she pushed me away.
It's not a good time.
Can't we just cuddle? I missed you.
All you think about is this. I'm tired and need to sleep.
I felt like I had fallen into an ice pit, feeling that the woman lying next to me was a stranger. Could it be that during the days I wasn't home, Emily?
No, I can't doubt Emily like this. Maybe she's just tired from work.
Even with this self-reassurance, I still couldn't sleep that night and only dozed off in the early hours of the morning. In the morning, I was awakened by some noise. I saw Emily was changing clothes, getting ready for work. Seeing her exposed body in front of me, I got up and pinned her down.
David, let me go! Stop!
But at that moment, I was blinded by anger and didn't want to listen to her cries. Suddenly, my phone rang. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw it was a call from Tom's smartwatch.
Tom, what do you want to eat for lunch?
Whatever you like, Daddy will eat.
After hanging up, I stood at Emily's room door but didn't have the courage to knock. The next day, my vacation ended. I was hesitant, unsure whether to buy a ticket to go back to work.
I have to figure out what's going on with Emily.
After much consideration, I decided to ask my boss for an extension of half a month's leave. My boss was very unhappy but eventually granted the leave. The next day, I packed my bags, said goodbye to Margaret and Tom, and took a taxi to the train station alone. When I got to the station, I didn't get on the train but returned to the city and found a cheap motel to stay in. It was close to the factory where Emily worked, making it convenient for me to investigate the truth.
I need to find out what's happening.
For the next few days, I stayed in the motel drinking alone during the day, and when it was almost time for Emily to get off work, I would leave the motel and find a hidden spot to observe. For several days, I didn't notice anything unusual about Emily.
Maybe I'm just overthinking it.
One day, I watched Emily get off work and ride her electric bike home. I didn't know whether to feel disappointed or relieved. I went back to the motel and continued drinking alone. If I didn't find anything in another week, I would have to go back to work.
Maybe she's just tired.
After drinking a few bottles of beer, I felt a bit dizzy and was about to take a nap when I suddenly heard a text message notification. It was an automatic trip notification from a ride-hailing app. Emily had registered my number as an emergency contact.
Where is she going now?
I opened the message link, and it showed the destination was Rose Bar. Going to a bar at night, she couldn't possibly be going alone. Who was Emily meeting? Andrew sat up abruptly from the bed and washed his face to clear his head. Leaving the motel, he hailed a cab straight to the Rose Bar. Inside, the sound system was loud, and the dance floor was crowded. The booths around the dance floor were almost all full. Worried about being recognized by Emily, Andrew wore a mask and a hat. He started searching for Emily among the booths, feeling conflicted and fearful. Finally, he saw Emily sitting next to a bald man in his 50s.
Isn't that the same man who sent Emily home after their late-night snack?
Emily and the bald man had a few drinks, and the man's hand was on Emily's thigh. Emily giggled without any resistance.
I can't believe this.
Andrew grabbed a bottle of wine from a nearby booth and charged over.
What are you doing?
The commotion quickly drew the attention of many people. Emily and the bald man also turned to look.
Andrew, what are you doing here?
Andrew smashed the bottle directly on the bald man's head. Blood mixed with wine flowed down from the top of his head.
You traitor.
Andrew slapped Emily across the face. The bar staff quickly rushed over and held Andrew down.
Buddy, if you have any grievances, take it outside. Don't disrupt our business.
They escorted Andrew, Emily, and the bald man out of the bar. Andrew's anger hadn't been fully released, and he rushed over to the bald man, punching and kicking him.
Andrew, stop. If you hurt him, you'll be in serious trouble.
Andrew slapped her again. At that point, she was still speaking up for the man. If he had a knife, he would have used it without hesitation. After more than 10 minutes, I was exhausted, and the old man was lying on the ground, barely moving. I didn't know if he was alive or not. I took a few deep breaths and turned to leave.
David, where are you going?
But I didn't want to hear anything Emily had to say. This woman had betrayed me, betrayed our family. I just wanted to cut ties with her.
David, you're too impulsive. I just went out for a drink with my colleagues. Do you have to make such a big deal out of it?
A big deal? Do I have to catch you in the act for you to admit it?
Emily was stunned, and tears streamed down her face.
Stop pretending. Bring your documents tomorrow, and we'll meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau. The child stays with me.
Leaving those words, I walked away without looking back. Back at the small motel, I downed a bottle of beer and sat on the floor, crying. Why? Why did a perfectly good family end up like this? I kept asking myself, unable to understand. Just then, my phone rang. It was a message from Emily.
David, since it has come to this, let's end it quickly. The child can't stay with you.
Seeing the message, I sneered. Sure enough, she wasn't hiding anything anymore.
With your behavior, it's a disgrace for the child to stay with you.
After sending this message, I tossed my phone aside and drank alone, determined to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with Emily first thing in the morning. I couldn't live with a woman who had no boundaries for money. But thinking about the child made my heart ache. Just then, my phone rang again. Thinking it was Emily, I didn't answer. But the phone kept ringing, so I picked it up, intending to turn it off. To my surprise, it was my mom calling. I hesitated for a long time but eventually answered the call.
David, I heard you and Emily had a fight. How can you be so childish at your age?
My mother's reproachful voice came through as soon as I answered. I choked up, unable to say a word, afraid that if I spoke, I would reveal the truth. My parents had worried about me all their lives. I didn't want to worry them anymore.
David, why aren't you saying anything? Emily is such a good girl. If you drive her away, I won't forgive you.
I know.
I replied and hung up the phone. Tears flowed uncontrollably. For the first time in my life, I felt how hard life could be. Under the influence of alcohol, I fell into a hazy sleep, dreaming of the sweet moments Emily and I had shared. Back then, she was young and beautiful, choosing me, an ordinary man, among many suitors. We watched the stars together at night, took a boat to a small island for a picnic. In the end, a demon appeared in my dream, devouring everything. I woke up with a start, drenched in cold sweat. It was already dawn, and I had no desire to sleep anymore. I got up, washed up quickly, and slowly walked home with my luggage. Perhaps soon, the home I had longed for would no longer belong to me. For the first time, my steps felt so heavy. Finally, I reached the entrance of my residential area, only to be stopped by someone. It was Michael, Emily's sworn brother.
Andrew.
Although I was curious about Michael's appearance, I had no mood to talk to him at that moment. I nodded slightly and was about to go home.
Andrew, don't go just yet. I have something to tell you.
What is it?
Actually, my sister has been hiding something from you.
Hiding things from me?
Andrew, you've misunderstood. Everything that happened since you came back was deliberately arranged by my sister.
Enough! Emily has hidden so many things from me. Are you trying to humiliate me by saying this now?
No. My sister has a serious health condition. She didn't want to burden you, so she deliberately did all this to make you ask for a divorce.
What?
I felt like I had been struck by lightning, my mind going blank. It took me a long time to react.
Say that again.
Half a year ago, my sister was diagnosed with this illness. I was the one who accompanied her to the hospital. I urged her to tell you, Andrew. But after asking the doctor about the treatment costs, she decided to hide it from you. Later, my sister came up with a plan to force you to ask for a divorce.
Every word he said felt like a heavy hammer striking my heart.
Then, what about the bar last night?
My sister realized you hadn't left and guessed you would stay to find evidence, so she staged that scene. The person you hit was a distant uncle of ours. Otherwise, why do you think he didn't fight back when you hit him?
I was completely stunned. I never expected that Emily would go to such lengths to make me leave.
Andrew, what do you plan to do? I'll do whatever it takes to help your sister get better.
It seems I made the right decision to come today.
Soon, Michael and I arrived home.
Emily, I know everything.
It's good that you know. Let's go and get the divorce today and part ways amicably.
Emily, I've decided that even if we have to sell the house, I'll help you get better.
If we sell the house, where will our child live? Besides, why waste money on a hopeless cause?
Since you mentioned our child, let me ask you, how will our child view their father when they grow up and learn about this?
Emily unconsciously took a step back, like a deflated balloon, and tears instantly streamed down her face.
Sister, since Andrew is so devoted, you can't give up hope.
Time passed slowly, and none of us spoke.
Okay, I'll agree to the treatment.
Hearing this, Michael and I both breathed a sigh of relief. From that day on, I accompanied Emily on a difficult journey to seek medical treatment. We visited renowned hospitals across the country, but the results were not promising. Just as we were about to run out of savings and plan to sell the house, Michael heard about an old Chinese medicine doctor whose prescriptions combined with acupuncture were effective for this type of illness. That day, we found the old Chinese medicine doctor according to the address. After a simple diagnosis, the doctor prescribed a month's worth of medicine for us to take home. A month later, Emily's condition had significantly improved, and she could feel it herself. We went back to see the old Chinese medicine doctor, who prescribed another half-month's worth of medicine and specifically instructed,
After taking this half-month's worth of medicine, you don't need to come back.
Doctor, do you mean?
After half a month, if you press the acupoint on her back and there's no pain, it means the illness is completely cured. If you're still worried, you can go to the hospital for a checkup.
I was so excited that I knelt down in front of the old Chinese medicine doctor. He had given our family hope. Half a month later, I followed the old Chinese medicine doctor's instructions and pressed Emily's acupoint. She didn't feel any pain. We hugged each other and cried, and the dark clouds that had hung over us were finally lifted. To be completely sure, I took Emily to the hospital for a thorough checkup, and the results showed that the tumor had indeed disappeared. Even the doctor was puzzled by the results and asked where we had received treatment. After leaving the hospital, we bought a lot of gifts and took a car to thank the old Chinese medicine doctor. From that day on, Emily and I returned to our normal lives.
She treated me even better than before.
I developed a new hobby, studying Chinese medicine. I feared that one day, my loved ones and friends might suffer from illness again,